Well, let me tell you about Keller Mortgage. I will say to this, Bobby Modes is a good friend of ours. We actually were in a brother-sister fraternity sorority in college, and so he has a similar type team as we do, and so I was like, hey, are you converted? Are you using it? And he's like, it can't handle my team yet. So I said, okay, you give me a call then. So a little bit of that is like permissible, but we do play in it. Our admin does integrate our, we have my husband spent 2 years in the business, and so we have a very intense system for where everything goes in. So to just integrate is chaos. Yeah. So, delightful. Anything else? I brought books. Anybody want to know books? Reading? I always get asked.
Yes, we love that.
What books are you reading?
What else? Like personal growth, any kind of like coach, anything. What else do I want to know? That's good.
Do any of you guys want to know how long she stayed a single agent before she started to leverage?
Yes.
Yes. And a lot of you guys are not sure if you want to leverage and how you'll leverage.
Okay. Cool.
Can I add to that for a second?
Yeah.
Would you discuss how much support you get outside of your team? Like, as a single agent, how much support did you get? Husband, parents, family, whatever that was, and what that looked like, and why you made that transition, and how that happened, because that's what I'm talking about.
Personal leverage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yep. What else? Yeah. Okay. Love time blocking. Time blocking goes to accountability with agents. It's my favorite. They come in, they're like, I'm not this and I'm not that and I'm not and I work all the time and blah 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 blah, and I'm like, cool, show me your calendar. Well, I mean, I haven't really been doing it, so it's like, okay, cool. So go back to your calendar, and suddenly a week later, the whole problem has fixed itself. Like, it's amazing. And they don't realize how much personal time they have, and it's in crazy chunks. They don't feel like they have any personal time. But when you actually chunk the personal time together, because you put it on a calendar and you time block it, you realize you have a great flexibility in this business. The problem is we play when we should be working, and we work when we should be playing with our family, right? And then we feel like we have no work-life balance. So I love time blocking and scheduling. It's the first thing, other than why is that important to you, that my team knows they're going to be asked for me when they walk in with this isn't working or this isn't good.
Do you have a math coach? And so when did you start?
Okay. Okay, I think that will take up an hour and a half. So I'll probably cry once. Always do. Like, the team knows it. It's funny. They joke about it. Oh, here comes the waterworks. So just so you know, I'm really passionate about my team. There will be a point where I choke up, so we'll just get that out of the way. So let's talk about. Let me start with where I've been. So I am from Bethany, Oklahoma. I'm from Bethany, Oklahoma, born and raised. I finished high school there. Parents divorced. When I was 3, my dad's family is from Dallas, which is why we ended up back there. My mom's still in Oklahoma. I still have a ton of family in Oklahoma. So I played volleyball in high school. I was blessed to get to play for a couple years in college at a small school in Oklahoma. So I played there for a couple years. I followed a boy to Texas A&M. It wasn't the boy I'm married to, but it led me to him. And so ended up at Texas A&M for 2.5 years to finish my degree there. And that's where I met Matt. And he was seeking a job in corporate benefit insurance. The market crashed when I graduated in 2008, and so he had just taken a new position as sales training, and there was not a position opening up for him to go into a sales role. I was actually living in Houston. He was living in San Antonio, and we were our first year married. So we spent our first year long distance, which is kind of hysterical because you couldn't separate us the first year we dated. And so we spent our first year long distance, and then I called his boss and said who I babysat for, and said, like, the deal was he comes home in a year, like 6 months turned into a year, something's got to give, right? And so he said, I know, he let him work from Houston and commute to San Antonio, like every other week, but eventually no territories were opening up except Miami, Florida. And so Matt was like, kind of good, like, what do you think about moving to Miami? And I was like, why not? So we packed everything and moved to Miami. We didn't have kids or dogs or anything. So we moved to Miami, where we lived for 3 years. And I did procurement there. So when I was in Houston, I did oil and gas because Matt's dad was a senior vice president of sales for Bechtel. And so we got us all jobs in oil and gas. The whole family started in oil and gas, right? And so I was in procurement in oil and gas, even though I was a psychology major. And so we moved to Miami. I worked for Kaplan, which is an entity of the Washington Post. And that was also in purchasing and procurement. And then we got pregnant with our son Aiden and wanted to move home, so we did. Home was Dallas because my dad lived there. I wasn't raised with my dad, and I really wanted to. I developed a very close relationship with my dad through college, and I really wanted to continue on that. And my grandparents lived there, so that landed us in Dallas. And I had Aiden, and I'm like the worst stay-at-home mom there ever was. I thought it would be fun, and we'd like craft and stuff, but turns out babies don't craft. I don't know. I don't really know what I thought it would be. So I was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to do this real estate thing and maybe sell like a couple homes and be like a room mom. And so my stepmom was like, okay, well, can I keep Aiden? I'm like, sure, you can be our nanny. That's great. So you want to make $12,000 to offset your retirement. So this was my first leverage piece. You want to make $12,000 to offset your retirement versus what you're getting paid in, or versus what you were paid when you worked. I can cover $12,000. So it's about 3 or 4 homes, so I need to sell 3 or 4 homes in my first year, right? So I sold 17, and I was never the room mom. In fact, when my kids are really bad, I threaten to stay home with me, and they get straight. I will quit my job and stay home, and I'm like, don't, please. So I'm the world's okayest mom. I figure my kids will hate me as their mom for some reason and blame me in therapy later. I might as well go do what makes me happy. I don't know anybody who doesn't blame their mom. So I decided, well, if they're going to blame me anyway, I might as well go do what I love. Because I dealt with some of that mom guilt for a while when they were young. But honestly, like, I love that they see a strong leader woman, and that they won't be like, they will seek that someday in a spouse. I think that's exciting. Also, God bless Matt, that he is married to. My dad said to me the other day, I was just talking about, Matt can say things offhand and be like a jerk. And he's a DIC, I'll let you put that together. So he leads with his D. And so I was talking about how he can just offend people, and my dad said, I don't think you understand what it's like to be married to a woman who wants to go conquer the world. Like, you know, from a man's standpoint, that's a little bit of an ego check. Like, that you rival him for income. So it kind of put it in perspective for me. But so Matt and I juggle the whole family thing, and we're both pretty bad at it. Luckily he cooks because I'm terrible at that, and we leverage everything else. So you want to talk about leverage? Man, I learned about leverage from Wendy Papazon. We were just talking about Wendy and Jay. I sat in a class in family reunion, 2 years in the business, and so I closed 17 units, then 24 units, then 45, 90, 122, and 175.
Wow.
So that's the trajectory of the 6 years. So I sat in a class with Wendy, and I just closed 45. And I had a goal of, like, I don't know, 60 or something that year. And I'm sitting at family reunion, and she's talking about leverage. And I don't know why. I feel like we do this as women. We, like, need permission to take the next step. I don't know why. Because, like, everything in us is like, burn the bras, but there's no permission. Right? So it's weird. It's weird living in our minds. So Wendy gave me the permission that I needed to have that leverage. Now, I have leverage at home with Debbie being our nanny. I didn't put it together that was leverage, right? In fact, Aiden wasn't even in preschool, so she took him to preschool, like, so half a day he wasn't even with her. But so we actually had 2 leverage points for that. But Wendy was sitting there and talking about, and she explained it as, it's funny because we all I was listening to a Ben Kinney webinar, and he was talking about how most of the society is trained to think, I make this per hour, so I trade my time for making this per hour. We don't think that way. In fact, if we did, we probably would be like, wow, I make a lot of money doing that. I should go lead generate. Have time out of here. So, because technically in those times, that's where you make the most money, right?
Yep.
So, we aren't trained to think that way, but most of society says, I trade my time for this amount. And that's a predetermined amount. We get to determine that amount. So I'm sitting in this class at Family Reunion, and Wendy is talking about leverage, and she basically says, take how much you made last year. Well, I did 45 transactions. Let's say it was $5,000 a transaction. Somebody do that math. 5,000 times 25. Yeah, so I made $250,000. So she said, okay, so if you assuming you take 2 weeks of vacation, which I don't know Realty does, but if you make $250,000, then if you work 2,000 hours in a year, which is 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, then you work 2,000 hours. So if you divide 250,000 by 2,000 hours, you come up with $125 an hour. So if you are cleaning your house instead of lead generating, and you can pay somebody less than $125 an hour, which you can, you're actually robbing yourself of money you could be making. If you will spend that time, and this is the big caveat, in more lead generation activities. I think a lot of us don't want to free up that time. We'd rather be our own transaction coordinator, because you really don't want to go get more business. And when you look at the man in the mirror, you start saying, maybe I don't, or maybe I can't, or maybe I'm not as talented as I thought, you know? So when you free up that time, part of that fear is, if I can just be busy, I won't have to go get more business, and nobody will know. I have this like fraud syndrome where I feel like everybody's going to figure me out at some point. Still kind of wondering while y'all are all here listening to me. But will it be figured out if I do leverage my time that I'm really not going to go do something else, or am I just going to kind of like, I mean, I was really good. I have a really good friend named Jesse Howard, and I was good. Like, I would come in the office by 10, right? And I would like make some calls and update some boards, and then I'd be like, hey Jess, you want to go get lunch? And Jess and I would get lunch from like noon until 1:30, and then I'd come back and plan some committees, and then head out at 3:30, right? Like, I was really good at that, and I did that for 24 transactions. I don't know where they came from. But then I worked all day Saturday. I'd work my tail off, and my clients would call at nights and weekends, and I would answer, because I wasn't doing business during business hours, so I was doing business during home hours and swearing that I had no life. But there's no way I did 175 transactions and had a better life if I had been time blocking properly, right? And so that goes into what we were talking about. So $125 an hour. So Wendy was like, give us a list. What can you get done for less than $125 an hour? So she actually had chunks. Like, for less than $20 an hour, you can walk your dog, like all these things, right? And then for less than $40 an hour, you can have these things done. 50 for less than 100. I mean, for less than $100 an hour, you can have somebody actually go shop for you. You don't even need to go shop. You don't have to run into that jeans lady that you like. You can line your own personal shopper. So I was like, this light bulb went off, and that was the permission I needed. So it was funny. My 2 best family reunions. I hate the city. I'm not a big fan of New Orleans. My 2 best family reunions, that was when I learned that from Wendy, and then that was also when we went back and I was on stage with Gary. So you think I'd love the city, but so I drove home from New Orleans after 4 days at family reunion. I called my stepdad, who had just retired, and he was director of radiology for a hospital. So high C, right, very detailed. I needed a transaction coordinator. I had more deals going on than I knew what to do with, right? And so high C, very detailed. And I thought, well, maybe I'll, give this a shot and see. He, my stepdad, who's very even-keeled, was actually going through depression after being retired. He just didn't know how to be retired. And my mom, who's 12 years younger than him, he's got it going on. My mom, who's 12 years younger, was far away from retirement. And so he's like grocery shopping. I mean, this is a brilliant man, right? He's bored out of his mind. So I call him on the way home from family reunion, and I said, hey, Charles, I'm thinking about hiring this transaction coordinator that will work virtually. I need somebody very detailed. Would you be interested in talking about it? He's like, yeah, when do I start? Well, do you want to talk to my mom? No. When do I start? Do you want to talk about how much you're going to make? Nope. When do I start? Don't care. What do you need me to make? When do I start? Where do I sign? I'm like, okay. So, the first big thing, so I actually drove from New Orleans, stayed the night at home in Dallas, got up and drove to Oklahoma City and trained Charles the next day and had a transaction coordinator. Like, this is a go. I said, you need to get your license, this is what you need to do. Until then, I gotta do this part, and then you can do this part. So he got his license, and off we went. So then the team began. Well, it's so weird because I'm not money motivated. And so you can't tell me, go make this much. And I'm like, yeah. Like, I'm winning motivated. If you're like, yeah, you have to make 30% profitability to be in Gary's top 100. I'm like, 30% it is. And I don't know what I'll do with the 30% of $1.2 million. I don't have a clue.
What's your desk?
Huh?
What's your desk?
I am a DI. Yeah. So, I lead with my I in public. I'm a big D at home. Yeah. It's fun. Yeah, Matt's a DIC. I'm a DI. We're both Ds at home. It's fun. Yeah. And so fast forward, I hired Charles. Well, here's the thing. I only had like 6 or 7 hours for Charles to work. And so I called Charles and I'm like, hey, how's it going? How you doing? I'm checking in with him a lot. How are things? So this is like first rule of hiring. Don't hire your family, career vision them. I didn't do any of that, right? But by the grace of God, it's worked out. In fact, he's been with us for 4 years. And so I call, check in, how's it going? Are you wearing pants? Like, what's up? You know,
How did you discuss pay?
Huh?
How did you discuss
I just said I can afford $12 an hour right now. And he's like, cool.
Alright.
I'm like, if I do better, I'll get you more. So at one point he went to 15 and he's at 18 right now. But again, he sits at home, he doesn't have to wear pants. I'm pretty sure he wears pants. But, and so he was
anymore, right?
he's not depressed, he loves it. He had all these files and all these notes and my mom's like, but he also created this urgency, like at 7 o'clock at night he's working and my mom's like, dude, like I'm home, you know, but he couldn't let it go. He's a very detailed person, right? So we had to learn a little bit of that. And I asked him, Charles, how's it going? And he's like, it's really good. I just, I could use more. So I started getting up. See, there you have it. I started getting up because I wanted to do business so he could have a better life.
Wow.
And not birth my why. You know, Keller Williams were big why shamers, right? Everybody has, it's like, do you even have a big why? You're probably not successful because you don't have a big why. Like, we shame people for not having a big why. That's a big deal. Like, a life statement is a big deal. And they just kind of throw it at you at Ignite and then shame you later for it. And sometimes big whys, and when I teach business planning, they can be little whys that make a big why. And sometimes you don't know your big why. And when I hired Charles, my big why was born. I'm crazy about those fools on that screen, those faces. I know all of their kids. I babysit their kids while they do open houses. Valencia, I've known her since she was 12. Her dad was a pastor for mine and Matt getting married. And New Year's Day, we got up to call expireds one day, and it was New Year's Day, the big expired day. It's exciting. I got a call at 5 in the morning and randomly heard my phone buzz. I normally don't. And it was her mom, and her husband had been killed in a car accident on New Year's Eve. He was going to work, and there was a driver going the wrong way on the highway, and then he was dead on impact, which broke me, right? They were saving up for a home. She was a single mom before. She'd finally gotten rid of, okay, now I have help. And I knew we were stepping all back into that, and that we were going to go through this together. So she had to go to the hospital to claim the body. He didn't tell her why they were going, and I knew what she was going through. So I got there at 8, and I picked up the dialer, and I did what most team owners won't do, and I started dialing, and I put it all in her name. And I followed up, and I put it in her name, and I followed up, and I put it in her name because I knew that her kids would need that check. Valencia got a chance to go on an interview this year for a pretty good position in real estate. She's licensed, and she came to me and she said, my uncle brought me this opportunity, and I just wanted to tell you about it. And I said, okay, what do you want to do with it? She said, I don't know. And I said, well, I think you should go. You do? Yeah, I think you should have every conversation, every opportunity. My hope is that I am the best path for you to get where you want to go, and if I'm not, I don't want to stand in your way. So I happen to be out of town teaching Keller Mortgage, and I get a phone call from Leah, and I was like, Valencia just left the office and was like super weird. And I was like, what do you mean? And she said, well, like, she just was like, I'm going to a lunch. I'll be back. And left. I said, yeah, she's got this interview, etc. And Leah was all offended. And I said, no, I want to be Valencia's best opportunity, right? And if I'm not, then I want to wish her the best. She's done right by me, and I want to do that. Anyway, Valencia got halfway to the interview to turn around and came back. And so she's in it. She's loyal. She's in it for the long run. And that's huge. I'm wild about those cases. She just closed on her first home in December, which was a goal we were working on for the whole month of, or for the whole year of 2019, because when her husband was killed, the car was impounded. It crushed her credit, tore apart their savings, had no car insurance, no life insurance. So it was a disaster, and it took us 2 years to rebuild. But you better believe, like, we've gone through it together. It's been incredible. So when I say I'm wild about those people up there, I'm wild about them. And I drive and I push for numbers, not to cover my own bills, not for what I'll take home, but for what it does for them. And this is so somebody asked, do you have a maths coach? Yes, I have a maths coach. I've had a maths coach for 4 years, same one, Jordan Free. I call him Free, which most people call him Jordan. That's weird to me. Jordan. So Free is my coach, and we've had him for 3.5 or 4 years. He tells me I should be more profitable, and I have a hard time with that, because to me, I could give that back to those people because I love them, right? And he's like, yes, but your business and your clients need you to be profitable so you can keep going, right? We got to have some savings, Jordan. So I'm wild about giving it to them, making it about them. And I find when you make it about them, they make it about you. They're thrilled to death to show up, to work on Saturdays, to hold all the open houses. Yeah.
I love that story. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
When you have these people that you work with, and you obviously care about them, you love them and everything, and they are maybe, like, for example, if it's an agent and they're not doing what they need to do as far as lead generating,
Yeah.
How do you handle that?
So we actually just had that, so consistent accountability, we meet once a week, and we go over where's your pipeline, how are things, right? And so when they say I'm taking 3 weekends off this month, I'm like, okay, I just need you to be prepared that it feels fine now because you have closings and you have a pipeline. You understand it's really going to show up in 90 days. We're going to have this conversation where you're going to come in my office freaking out in 90 days. You're aware that's going to happen. Yeah, so we set the expectation. If it's a production issue, we'll work together, we'll work it out. If it's a culture issue or an attitude issue, there's too many lives at stake, right? And then I can name all the kids that are depending me to show up and take 100 listings this year, because it keeps the ball rolling, it keeps those mouths fed. So if you're a culture or an attitude issue, I don't have room for that, and I'll check you quick. Not even because of me, I don't have a temper around that. I actually tend to take abuse way too long, but because of them that it affects, and they're my why. They're literally. I tore my ACL, and for the second time, my first surgery didn't stick. I had to have it again, and after about 7 weeks, they're like, "Are you coming back to the office?" And I was like, "Well, it's kind of thinking about quitting real estate." That's not a joke. I was really thinking about quitting real estate, and I borrowed their belief in me to get back at it. But when you come to a screeching halt, it's really hard to get back in. It's hard to get back. I didn't realize how burned out I was, coming off summer and all that. So, yeah. And that's great about a team, is that you can borrow their belief in you until you do it yourself, right? Until you believe it yourself. Sometimes I go into meetings thinking, I'm so in over my head. Here we go. Come on, team. This is going to be great. We're going to go on stage with Gary Keller. Awesome. So, yeah. Okay. Where does that take us? So, leverage. And then now I'm like the leverage queen. I'm like, who can I leverage that to? They're like, no, Jordan, you have to do that yourself. And so leverage for me, so we have somebody who cleans the house, mows the lawn. My stepmom, who is our nanny, both the boys are in school at least 6 hours a day. So to keep her salary the same, she said, I'll do all the laundry and the dishes. So, and I'll cook and have it ready home by 6. So your kids don't care that you made dinner, they care that you're at dinner, and that your phone is down, right? And so I don't do all those things. I had an agent on our team, the one who went to be the stay-at-home mom. She had a superwoman complex with, I gotta do it all, I gotta be the one. I don't envy her. That's hard to get over. I never had that. I'm like, yeah, I'm a miserable cook. I'm a miserable cleaner. I'm a mediocre cook, right? Like some scrambled eggs, I got you. So I realized where my talents are and strengths, and I'm comfortable in that. So that was leverage. I leverage the heck out of everything. And then I have agents come in and say, I don't want to hire a showing agent because I don't know that they'll do it right. And I'm like, I have leveraged what you're talking about doing as many faces as you see in this room. Like, how can you tell me that you don't feel like somebody could do the job you could? You know, so it gives them the confidence to do their next step because they've seen me do it. And I am very vulnerable. It's one of my 5 pillars personally. In my gatekeeper values, vulnerability is at the top, and sometimes like at my own expense. Like I self-deprecating humor all the time. So with that vulnerability, so when they see it and they see me fail and they see me hurt, even if somebody screws up on our team, like they see how I deal with it. Yes,
So the person on your team is hiring a showing.
yes. Buyer's agents hire showing agents.
So they're paying that person or 1099.
Yeah, so, right now, they're all dipping their toe in the water, and they all pay them like $20 an hour to go show for them. Our
So they
runners.
1099 them basically, even though they're on your team, they're paying for.
They pay them, but they don't go over $10,000 a year.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, they have to keep track of that themselves.
Mhm.
And the other people.
The showing assistant bills separately.
Yeah.
So I have a runner, they run signs, lock boxes. When I go out to a listing, I don't take anything but paperwork, and then magically I get told by Leah that their listing's ready to go live, that she's put it in MLS, they've done sign lock box, organized photography, staging, all that, and I don't know about it until it's ready to go live.
And Leah,
Director of operations.
and does she have a salary?
Yeah, she's $50,000 a year, and she's a licensed agent, so she gets referral fees for her friends and family.
Okay.
But she sets everything up, and then I just magically get told that the listing's ready.
And you learn this from career visioning? Did you learn how to structure this through career visioning?
I don't think I learned how to structure my team through career visioning. Mostly calling everybody I know that was doing it just a little bit higher than me and being like, what does that look like?
Okay.
Career visioning, I learned how to hire. Lee and I were very close friends for 4 years, and I career visioned her. We went through it together. In fact, our final conversation was, someday we will get out of business together. What does that conversation look like? So that there's no hard feelings. Although we all know I'll cry. But like, how do we have that conversation now so that we're prepared and we didn't hurt our friendship in the future? And I find that if I'm just more than gracious, that it always comes out a win and I sleep at night. Could I make a little bit more money? Sure. But I wouldn't sleep at night. So like Stephanie left the team, I let her, she had her own home listed. I let her take it, no charge. We actually had a buyer that was interested. We forwarded it on to her the next day after she quit. I just feel like if you're more than gracious. In turn, sellers have called her and she says, I'm so sorry I decided to stay home. Here's this. But she expected it to be this. And when it wasn't, the client won and I could sleep at night. That's important for me.
How do you get over the whole idea? Because you show to that if I'm doing everything, I'm busy. If I start leveraging, I'll be free. I don't know what to do because, oh my God, you just literally verbatim said it.
I could see some of your hair literally set on fire.
If I leverage, oh my God, I'll be free and then I'll have nothing to do.
Yeah, then what will you do, right?
You'll have to regenerate more.
This is why stay-at-home moms have kids when their kids go to kindergarten. Suddenly they show up at kindergarten pregnant. They're like, I'm not going back to work.
That's awesome.
Do you lead by example before for your, like, for example, buyer's agents or anything that you've hired as far as leverage? Do you lead by example, by doing and then showing, or do you sometimes just put people in the place? More salesy.
So typically I have a showing agent and I give them to the buyer team and say, here's a showing agent, I've career visioned them, and there are a runner, and so they kind of get to date them. None of them have married them. It's real annoying. But we have like 3 runners and showing assistants / stagers. We have one girl with an interior decorating background and a stay-at-home mom. Stay-at-home moms are the best for this, by the way. And we let her bring, like, she calls her kids around. And she will run a sign lockbox. She can leave her kids in the car, or she delivers our seller success guide, which is our listing packet, a day before. And so she leaves the car running, drops it off on the porch, and goes. I'm like, don't knock. I don't need them asking you what they should price their home at. I don't want to hear that you talk to the seller. pretend you don't speak English. So, whatever you do, don't touch. Because I swear they'll be like, what do you think? Should I do that? No. Say out loud, no. So.
More along the lines like of sales, like for example, like your open houses is one of your lead generation, your 30%, and then expires or whatever are you leading by example as far as like, obviously now you have a scale team.
Yeah.
But as you were growing.
Yes, so I was doing the open houses, yes, I was converting. The day I hired a buyer's agent, because y'all know your hair's about to set on fire again, the day I hired a buyer's agent, I never worked a buyer again.
Do you keep in touch with them though, because your name
Yes.
is on the?
But if I expected them to turn over their listings, which is a leverage, listings gives you your time back, we weren't playing in the game that I was gonna keep this buyer. I actually ended up with a buyer's agent because their previous team leader played that game. Put it in someone else's name, who happened to be out of town, there was no way they showed them homes, it all got figured out.
You keep
And I-
the lead?
Huh?
You keep the contact down?
Yeah, the ISA does, so. But I have shown a home down the street from me because my buyer's agent would have to drive 30 minutes to come. I've shown it. They said, yeah, I like it. Well, I know my buyer's agent's, on vacation or whatever. I wrote the contract, put it in their name, but that was the deal. And they know it, like to the death. They know it, and it's never a question the other way around, right? So it's just, I'm always the most gracious first and last, and I can sleep at night. It's just what I've decided. What were we talking about? Oh, we were talking about, are you really going to lead generate? So, Smokey has these things called Smokey steps. And what you don't know is that you're only this big. Here's my problem. I thought I was like this big. like steps to a real person, right? So I thought I knew everything when I started. And even when I was like capping, I was like, I'm a capper. I know everything, right? And so I thought I was this big and I could see all the business that was out there to get. What I found was when I hired Charles, remember I told you I went from 45 to 90 transactions, but my plan was to go to 60. Like I got an extra 30 somehow, not even on purpose. Not even intentionally with a business plan, right? So what happened was I hired Charles, I stopped being so busy. There is business out there that you're too busy to see.
So good. Say that again.
There is business out there that you are too busy being busy to see. So when you leverage, here's the thing, growth is messy, growth is painful. Smokey talks about these steps, and it always seems so like sweet that you go up these steps. No, it hurts. And you need a person or a system because you're running headfirst into a wall and you hate everyone and you want to quit and you hate real estate and you're not even sure why you got in this and you think it would be a good idea to get a job with a boss. You're missing a system or a person. It's not that bad. It's okay. Take a deep breath. Get a coach. You're missing a system or a person. So what that system or person does is allows you to go to the next level. There is business up here that you can't see down here. So you didn't even know it existed. Moms groups, Facebook blogging, whatever you could do to generate leads, even through socializing, taking cookies to the fire department, whatever it is that you could do for lead gen, you don't have time to do because you're so busy being busy, doing a job that you could pay somebody $15 to do, right? You're paid $125. If you're doing a $125 activity, you're embezzling from your own company. Because your time's worth $125. And actually, if you have a business plan to double your business, your time's worth $250. It should be worth $250. You're just too busy doing $15 an hour activities. So you're stealing from your own company. I do this a lot. I really like to solve everybody's problem. I feel like the smartest person in the room when I walk into the team, and I'll just overhear a problem. I'm like, what is that? And they know, like, oh great, Jordan the Mighty comes to solve the problem. And they have it without me, but it feels good to solve those problems, right? It's easy. Like something, it releases endorphins to solve problems. That's why when you're lead generating, you want to make it somebody else, give them a problem. Hey, I'm looking to help 20 people buy or sell a home this year. Can you help me? They love solving problems. Let them solve your problem. So, anyway, and then there's business here that you didn't know existed. Let's say builder business. That builder business brings a whole level of buyers, sellers. How can you use it? Keller Mortgage. I couldn't have done that here if I was doing all my own transactions. I wouldn't have time. Just too busy. In fact, I couldn't be here, right? If I was just too busy. So even if you have the talents, the knowledge, the God-given gifts, if you're just too busy doing things that you have no business doing, how will you ever know, right? If Michelle would call me, I'm like, gosh, Michelle, I'm just too busy doing paperwork. I'm sorry I can't come talk to your entire market center and add value. How sad is that? So you owe it to yourself, you owe it to the world, you owe it to the people that you're going to hire that have kids that they'll be supporting to live your biggest life and go do that. And if that's one hire, that's awesome. It is. You have permission today to build whatever you desire. But don't live small when you were made to be big. Okay, cool. Leverage. Did we cover it? Personal, professional, leverage. So we have
It's on the wall.
Thank you. Thank you. Slow learner. Okay, cool. So we talked about leverage, and I took half the time with that. So time blocking is really essential. I want to make sure we cover that. And it's important to fill in your calendar from here to eternity. I have a workout with a personal trainer for my knee. I booked on Monday and Wednesday, and I put it from here to eternity. It's never ending until I decide to end. Same thing with your Legion. Your Legion should be the same time every week. And if you go on vacation, then delete it. But the problem is we go on Sunday, what do I want to do this week? And then we're surprised when we waste time. And we didn't block and fill the time with what needed to be done. So the first thing that goes on your calendar, in fact, I think it's the one thing that tells us this, right? Is your vacation time, your family, your personal time. What are you going to time block and what is non-negotiable? And then fill it with the things that pay you to get the job done. So lead generation, etc. We even book, because I have an ISA, we book open listing appointments. However, as an individual agent, if you know your numbers, and you know you need a listing appointment every week to hit your numbers, you should have 2 open listing appointment slots per week. Because your brain is going to try to solve that problem and find a listing appointment to go on, because you don't have anything to fill that. So actually by having the opening, then you've got showing times. You're going to start calling your buyers and saying, I know we got that pre-qual, are you ready to see some homes? But instead we get a pre-qual and then we're like, they'll call me. And then we find out they called your friend and you lost the deal, right? So we will solve the problem to put something in, find somebody to show houses during that time, right? So start creating that schedule, your ideal schedule, and then your brain will solve the problem. It actually does this at night, where it works out the problem of I needed somebody to show, and you'll like wake up and be like, oh, Bob, I didn't call him. Turns out Bob was looking for a home, right? So set your schedule up, time block like that. When people's lives are totally out of whack, I find that they're just not time blocking, or if they are time blocking, then we need to talk about leverage. We implement a system anytime we find ourselves doing it over and over again, something over and over again. So we have an email that Charles sends out that explains what option period is. We have an email that Charles sends out that explains what the earnest period is. Because I know what the earnest period is, and I keep trucking, and we get to the end of the transaction, and the seller's like, well, it was great, but we had no idea what the hell was going on. Right? So clearly I'm not communicating because I'm just like, I got this, take the ball and run. They want to know. So anytime we find, oh, they didn't know what earnest period was all this time, we put it into an email, and everybody who gets out of option, like an auto email that we just drop in. Charles does that. So that's how we set up. So a system doesn't have to be sexy. It can be anything that you find is a confusion, you're repeating yourself, something like that you do over and over again. So anytime you find yourself hitting that wall, ready to go to the next level, it's a system person. Maybe it's just your time blocking's off. Okay, cool. So let's talk about models and systems for open houses and follow-up. So we do 8 to 10 open houses a week on our team, which is chaos. And we have an admin that books the open house, confirms it with the seller. If it's not our team, they book it like through showing.com or whatever for our agents. They put the confirmation in a manila folder that's a, what are those folders called? Folder. Yeah, but it, on the ends. It has ends that look like accordion. Yeah, thank you. This is charades. Welcome to charades. And so an accordion folder so that it doesn't fall out. So in there is the MLS like instructions on how to get into the property. We have the MLS sheet printed for them. We have an open house sign-in sheet for them. We also have, and this is kind of brilliant, We also have an open house feedback form that we leave for every seller. Because let's say you're on my team and you hold an open house. You're done, you leave, the seller calls who? I have no idea how your open house was. Not a clue. So we leave a feedback form that says, thank you so much for letting us hold your home open. We had 5 families come through and 2 showed interest. Don't worry, we'll be sure and follow up. You have, here are 3 things that we heard as feedback for your home. So now they have instant feedback, who came through, how many, whatever. They're sure that we're going to follow up. And then it's signed the agent, and it has our logo. It does not have our contact info because we use that in other people's open houses. So we have teams that don't have buyer's agents that call us and say, would you please hold the home open? Their sellers are so satisfied after because they get that instant feedback. If the home's vacant, we don't leave the form because that would be weird. They text a picture to the listing agent. So if it's somebody else's listing, we go ahead and text a picture of that feedback. So that agent's not surprised when the client's like, yeah, 5 families came through. They're like, what? And we get asked again and again and again to hold open houses because we have a system for that. For us, the agents are allowed to keep 1 person who came in per open house, and they have to turn in their open house form by 8 a.m. Monday. So if 5 families signed in, which is the average that we find in open houses, then we know that, so Valencia knows that 4 will not have a star next to them, unless they got permission from me, which they have to call me and get permission to keep more. Then Valencia, our ISA, goes and starts calling them and saying, thank you so much for coming to our open house. You know, is there something you're looking for, etc. So they follow up with those people that signed in, but the realtor says we didn't connect, they aren't looking right now, whatever. So Valencia can follow up. She follows up on behalf of our seller, we would like your feedback. What she's doing in the meantime is asking if you have an agent, right? And so even if they say they have an agent, we still call and Valencia still says, oh, what's their name? Because most people don't have an agent, they're lying. And so that's our open house follow-up process. Then, so that all goes in Brivity as leads. Leads are controlled in Brivity. Clients are in Trello for us. And so we created Trello, and that's our database of clients. Our agents don't have access to Brivity. Our agents have access to Trello. Then Jolene, who is our Trello troll, goes in on Monday and confirms that the one that the agent starred is in their Trello with a follow-up task so that I know the hot lead is being followed up on. Only because we've had agents star the lead and then never put them in there and never call them again. So the Trello troll makes sure they're in there. If they're not, then they get automatically kicked back to Valencia, and I don't even notify the agent. Because you just stole from our families. That's how I see it. And so I take it real serious when you let leads just fall to the ground, that's stealing, because there's an ISA who set that appointment that could get paid. There's, if it's a listing, your listing agent could get paid, whatever. So I take it
these are
serious.
people on your team holding the open.
Yeah, 8 to 10 a week. Yeah. And so we have to have a really good process to make sure we don't have chaos. So on Monday, all of the new listings and price reductions are posted, and they're price reductions that I think are going to happen. And then that kind of pushes me to have that conversation. On Tuesday is team day, and everybody comes in, and that's when we go over any announcements. We have team huddle. I have one-on-one meetings with all the outside agents. The 1099s don't come in every day. The W-2s do. And so Tuesday is the day that we have team day, and then the agents sign up for their open houses. Wednesday is What's Up Wednesday, when we call everybody who's pending. When you have 30 pendings, sometimes you can go 2 or 3 weeks without calling a person. Leah sends what's going on their file. She checks with Charles and sends what's going on their file in an email, and I literally just have to pick up the phone and call the client and say, we got appraisal back in and it appraised. Now we're waiting on closing documents, and then we can schedule your closing once we have lender docs. So she tells me what to say. I see y'all. And then on Wednesday night, she does a seller report, and she runs all the reverse analytics and says, here's how many showings you had, here's how many showings the competition had. You can pull that from your showing source. So every Wednesday they get that report, so we know how we're faring. And that way when I call to talk about price, we're basing it on facts, not feelings. You had 1 showing, average is 5. We're not performing. We need to make an adjustment. So it sets me up for that conversation, and that's every Thursday. We talk to everybody who is active. an active buyer or an active listing.
Do you have your director of operations looking at integrating those steps, the Brivity and the Trello, into a command?
No.
Okay.
Because I was talking about this a little bit at break. So I am college friends with Bobby Moats. We were in a brother-sister fraternity sorority. We also run similar sized businesses. You know, Bobby in all that command world. So I asked him, are you in command? Because I've been in there and I don't feel like it can do all that we need it to do. And at the time he said, it's not ready for our size of team. So I said, when it is, will you give me a heads up? When you start using it, I'm moving over, you know? But right now, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I heard it was supposed to be ready in October. I haven't heard since. I heard now, I think, by family reunion. I don't know. But all this multiple agent using is a lot of chaos. Yeah. So, and I'm not messing with the system at that level that may be right.
So you are calling your listing actives
Thursday,
on Thursdays?
Yeah.
And you're calling your pendings?
Wednesday. What's up
And
Wednesday?
are you doing the phone calls or
Uh-huh.
when you, okay.
Yeah.
And
And then Friday I call my database.
But that's only your listings, and you don't call any buyers, you just let the buyer's agents do that interface with the buyer.
And then they update in Trello their notes from those conversations, and the Trello troll makes sure they have it.
Okay, so, and Mark and I were talking about this just earlier, is how do you, because those buyers are making the connection with your buyer's agents. Even though you're keeping the leads later, they have an interface with you. They
Yeah,
don't
so
even
we
know
have
who
some
you
people
are.
that at closing were like, who's the Davis team?
Right, exactly. And so how do you, if at all, right? How do
Yeah,
you keep
so
them?
what we do is we have a congratulations on going under contract, so that comes, so Charles is transaction coordinator, so Charles is throughout. And he has a congratulations video that comes out from me as the owner of the Davis team. And then it tells all the important dates and title company and everything they need to hit. Then they get through option period, and once they get through option period, then we flag it, and Jolene, who's Leah's assistant, fills out a form. That's the after option follow-up call, and it is an audit for Leah to make sure that they're happy with their agent. And so, is Anne calling you back in a timely manner? Is everything going well? So that's after option. Also, we have preferred vendors that pay for co-branding, and they purchase our seller listing packets and things like that, so we want to make sure we're driving business to them. So we go over the repair amendment in dot-loop before we call them, and then if they need like a roof, then we offer to send our preferred roofer out so that we can ensure that he's getting business.
And this is you and your team doing it, not necessarily the buyer's agent, so that you are involved somehow in the transaction
Yep.
as well.
And then we have a post-closing call. And so Leah calls again after closing and asks for finds out how they did. There's a follow-up question. Would you be comfortable referring your friends and family to us? And then would you be willing to write us a review? And so then we have a review follow-up process that's 5 times that we ask for the review. Then we bribe them, yeah. We also tell them about our client events that come up twice a year and our every other month giveaways. We do a reverse bold 100 every other month, and I can go into that. We tell them that these things will be coming up where we give away AirPods, an electric smoker, so they definitely want to stay tuned for our emails and promotional things and things like that, and their agent will be reaching out to them.
Are they giving their referrals and as an entry into the drawing? Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, so when we do a reverse bold 100, we get like title or a lender or something to co-market, and they pay for the item, and then we advertise and blast it out. We put together a flyer, email it, and it's called a reverse bold 100. And so I told Valencia, if you had to risk your job on getting 100 people to call in a 6-hour period, how would you do it? And so that was her job. So in everything you'll hear that I'm not doing, that's very important. This is Valencia's job to hit 100. And so Valencia got the agents involved. She gave them scripts. She gave them, we did our little flyer. She made a Facebook group. She had the agents go invite X number of people. She made a competition for the agents and said, Jordan, can I give away a $100 gift card to the agent that gets the most calls? Sure. And so I said, if I fire you, I'm going to fire you if 100 people don't call in tomorrow, right? And so how do you make sure that that doesn't occur? And we got our first time like 117 with 12 referrals called in a 6-hour time period. And then we had one really like lag. It was kind of half-hearted. We only had 60. But then this last one was 122 for AirPods. With, I think,
Was the gift not so
17
great
referrals.
for the 61? I mean, was that?
I think the agents didn't plug it. It was like Thanksgiving, we had a lot of balls in the air, or October, we had 30 closings in October. I just think everybody, even I was like, we have a giveaway today? What? I don't even think I was in town. So it was just poorly planned, executed, we learned from it. We just kind of expected the first time's result again without putting in the effort. So we learned a lot, like we really have to go through the whole process, and so Valencia outlined the process for how to do that.
Being such a DI, who put all these processes into place? Your husband?
The C. Yeah, he has like a internal struggle of I need it to be right, but I need it to be now, but right, but now, but ah. Yeah, that's his life. That's his head. So yeah, he puts those processes together and gets it correct. Now, I also hired a DIC. I hired a female version of Matt, and that's Leah. They're a perfect KPA match, which is weird. And so Matt, when he went back to corporate benefit insurance, he leveraged it to Leah and showed her how to do everything. So she knows, she speaks Jordan. And sometimes I'll be like, maybe we should look into like advertising here. And she's like, okay, so does that mean I need to go do it? Or are you just like broadly having a conversation with yourself? And I'm like, I'm having a conversation with myself. She's like, okay, cool. Like she speaks Jordan and some people don't. And I just was like, I don't know why Jolene didn't do this. And she's like, she doesn't speak Jordan, I'll handle it. So Matt does too, and Leah's really good at like pulling it out of me to get a process, because I'm not that process person. And neither is Valencia, yeah. So, cool. All right, so leverage time blocking, coaching. I told you, yes, I am in coaching. I've had Freed for 4 years. We talked about the new tech tools. As far as social media, we have a Facebook page. We needed more likes. And we needed more reviews at one point. We got feedback that we needed that. And so we made a competition. We gave away a family photo shoot if you'll review us. We had a professional photographer do $75. They charged us to photograph the family. And they got one free digital image, and then they could purchase the rest. So it was a benefit for the photographer, a benefit for us. We took their reviews and their professional pictures, and we put them in our seller success guide and our buyer guide, so that now we have beautiful professional pictures of families that we've helped buy and sell that actually have written us reviews. So it was like hit 3 goals all at once and got our reviews up. Other than that, from a social media standpoint, we don't crush it. We don't have somebody in marketing. Yeah.
So you guys gave everyone who filled out the review
A family
and
photo
liked
shoot.
it, or just
Yeah.
they had to
Like
go
our
over
page
this
and
one?
fill out a review or something like that. Yeah, we had a builder who wouldn't do business with us because we didn't have 1,000 likes. So we had like 200, so I was like, hold my beer, we'll do this. So we got to what we needed. So if somebody had a question over here. No? Cool, okay. Okay, cool. So we talked a little bit about motivation and accountability. It's that weekly accountability that we do with the agents. And again, I'm okay with production staggering. I'm not okay with attitude and culture staggering. And we came up with those cultural pillars together. I was at Mega Camp one year, and there was a lady on stage talking about how she sat in the mornings and came up with their team's cultural pillars. And I thought, how sad that was a missed opportunity to get your team's buy-in. So at one of our team huddles, we did like, what is our culture? What do we stand for? I really wish we had that. I mean, I don't think we could have known because it's evolved, but I wish I had that going in, because I feel like it would have protected who I hired. Really had an understanding of where I was going. I just didn't. I don't have that much vision. Our UVP is, with regards to our UVP, it's the team. You actually get 12 licensed agents for the price of 1. So that's part of our UVP when we're talking about what sets us apart. We talk about the data analytics that they get every Wednesday night and the phone call they get every Thursday. Many expireds that I list and actually end up selling that couldn't sell the first time tell me that they met with their agent and then never heard from them again until like a week before the home expires. So you're going to hear from me every week, like it or not. You don't have to answer if you don't like me, it's fine. But you're going to actually get an email every week from Leah, and then you're going to get a phone call from me every Thursday. They like that I'm going to be accountable and that I'm going to stay in touch. So that's a big deal for them. What's today, Wednesday? Yeah, I got to do What's Up Wednesday calls at some point, and tomorrow after I speak I'll do seller Thursday calls.
I'm sorry, can you go back to the values, to the culture and vision thing that you were talking about?
Oh.
Where did you get that from, and can you elaborate on that process?
So for us, with vision, I guess I said it, and the team's really bought in. Our vision is that we are fanatically passionate about helping others achieve success through buying, selling, investing, or career in real estate. So every week at Team Huddle, we go over that. We're like, what is our vision? And we all chant it like creepy. And then they just pop up and popcorn our pillars. We call them our pillars or our values. And so at a Team Huddle, we created, not at a Team Huddle, team retreat, like goal setting retreat. I just asked them, write down everything you think our team stands for. And I gave them like 20 blanks. And then we made cards for each one and put how many cards. Okay, everything that had 5 cards is definitely in. Everything that had 4 cards or whatever. And then we voted on the rest to come up with our team pillars. But we go over them every week. So growth, accountability, service, fun, and growth, accountability, service, fun. Missing one. I don't know. It'll come to me. So.
You said something about vulnerability.
Oh, that's my personal. So I read a book that Dare to Lead that encourages you to come up with your one word, and I did, and whatever, or 2 words. But I was like,
Brene Brown?
Brene Brown.
I'm listening to that one.
Yeah, my coach was like, I recommend you come up with 5. And so joy, leadership, vulnerability, they're on my desk. It's kind of a new concept for me. So I've got 2 more that I'm missing. But he had me really point it to 5 so that when I'm making decisions, do they support or take away from like those personal. And then if I'm making a team decision, are they in line with our pillars? So, okay, cool. But that's how we stay accountable, and quite frankly, when somebody's not in culture, the team will like tell me. I don't even have to call them out. Like the team will like shun them too, like if you're not in culture. So one time Leah beeped somebody, like she asked a question, she's like, whatever happened on this listing? And this person started telling a story, like she really didn't want to answer it, and Leah on the phone was like, no, my question was, and we're like, did you just buzz her? That's not okay.
Yeah. So when you're talking about noticing that you, like, maybe in different transactions you were doing the same thing over and over again, so you created a system for it. Since you're not a detail person, like I actually have the exact same personality, my husband has the exact same personality, I have the exact same story too. I thought I'd sell 2 homes, I'm pretty sure I sold 20, so it's very similar. I've been in business 5 years, I'm just barely starting to leverage this year. But I'm not super good with like I would love to create those emails. Like I think often like, man, I just wish I had an email, but like what you're talking about, I'm so busy.
Is your husband in the business?
No, I'm just so busy, keeping up with being busy that I'm not taking the time to put those systems.
What did you
hire somebody?
So my husband came in the business for 2 years.
No, but like, did you hire someone to do those, like to create those things? Oh, but you're saying your husband has that detail, right?
My husband's more detailed. He was in the business, did that for a couple of years. We hired Leah. They overlapped for a year, and then when he decided to get out and go back to corporate benefit insurance, we leveraged to Leah.
But like when you notice something in a business, will you just say, hey, can someone create a system for this? Because I'm noticing we're doing it again, or does he knows, or someone like?
No, I give it to Leah when I need a system.
Okay.
And I have to find time in her calendar or figure out what I'm going to leverage from her.
And then you look at it, you're like, okay, I like that, I tweak that, whatever, and then you're like, okay, that's our template, and then you're like, okay, yeah, because I know that would help.
Yeah. So an assistant that we all want to hire who's just like us. Oh my gosh, we have so much fun. Well, guess what? You'll have fun out of the business. Yeah. So you should hire the opposite, and kind of annoys you. And Leah annoys me, and Sharon might be a lot. So I'm not joking.
No, but it's good
because she has no filter at all.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So.
See, Jeff, I'm not so bad.
Yeah. I have to remember
Jeff
it's for
didn't
the better.
answer.
She just has no filter. So, okay, UVP for us is team size, the amount of business we do, the fact that we buy homes, resources that we have. Keller Mortgage is a big part of our unique value proposition because of the savings. We talked about that in the last class. So hopefully that's helpful in answering that UVP question. Recruiting, hiring, training. So we go through a company called Wise Hire, W-I-Z-E-H-I-R-E. and that's where we put our ads out, they take that and distribute it to everybody who hires. Monster, blah, 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 LinkedIn, whatever. They also disc test everybody. So I didn't understand that they weren't coming to Wise Hire. They didn't know they applied on Wise Hire. They applied on LinkedIn, so I would call people and be like, you applied on Wise Hire. They're like, what is Wise Hire? But it like secretly goes in and it still looks like they're on LinkedIn. It does like a disc test. You can ask them questions. Matt like played a little game and had directions for them to go to the website, copy this, do this, because he's like, if you can't follow those instructions, I don't want to hire you. And so, but that's if you're like hiring an admin, right? So what personality? And so the disc test, and then it actually is synced to what type of role you're hiring for, and it knows if you're hiring an admin you want to see. So it actually tells you within a percentage, like green, yellow, red, and we just review everybody that's green and yellow. So, and those are the resumes we go over.
I have a question, Jordan. I wanted to ask you, now that you've been in the business almost 6 years, going back in and you're a new agent, knowing what you know today, what are the 2 or 3 things you would focus on and you would get started immediately now that you fail forward on a lot of things?
Yeah, so I didn't think open houses worked because when I was a new agent, I worked open houses and I didn't really work them. Like I didn't really advertise for them. I didn't know. I just did an open house for somebody and was like, well, nobody came. That sucked. I'm not doing that again. Understanding and really reaching out to somebody, whatever your form of lead generation is that you intend to cover, reaching out to somebody who's crushing it at that and learning what they're doing and then go emulate that is really imperative. Don't make it up. I try to get creative before models, and it's models before creativity for a reason. And so, so one of the things was when I started coaching with Freed, he said, Jordan, there's a reason like you're not getting any response out of these. These are your forms of lead generation, and you like kind of do it when you feel like it. So like sometimes you feel like doing open houses, or if your seller insists on it, okay, I'll do an open house. Sometimes you do database, but it's not any kind of like systematic follow-up. So like sometimes they hear from you once a year or whatever. I mean, it's painful. And he's like, all the deals are down here. They're all right here, and you're skimming up here. Like there's no business to be found. They all
What?
They're saying that's exactly what it is.
I'm like, stop it,
I think that's everybody.
Yeah. And so you have, and then even internet. I had some internet leads and I wasn't crushing. I didn't have a follow-up plan. I didn't have anyone to handle it. And so Jordan was like, Freed, I don't talk in third person. Freed was like, what are you going to take and master it? And let's master it one thing at a time, right? And so we read 4DX, which is 4 disciplines of execution. If you've ever tried to lose weight and you can't, it doesn't work, you fall off the bandwagon, you've tried to join a gym and you can't, and you fall, life gets in the way, you've tried to anything. It actually addresses why do we start things and we don't finish them. And it's kind of addressed in bold.
I'm reading that book tomorrow.
It's on my
4
list.
disciplines of execution.
4 or 40?
4.
4?
I thought you said 40X.
4DX. 4 disciplines of execution.
4DX.
So it's basically, and we talk about it in bold, you create so much activity, your life gets crazy, and then you got to handle the crazy, right? Have you been in bold where you start lead generating and you're like, I got all this business, I don't have time to follow up and do the basics again. That's the real estate roller coaster that we get on. I've got 2 deals, so I can't do anything else, right? And so people's hair's on fire right now. And so it's like you can't do anything else. Well, guess what? In 30 days, you're going to have no deals when those close. And so how do we keep that consistent? And it's being addicted to the activity, not the result. So often we're obsessed with the result. I did an open house and nobody showed up. Listen, the lead generation gods gave you lead gen karma, and something's going to fall in your lap because you did the activity. So don't be in love with the result, be in love with the activity. And what does that activity look like, and what is that follow-up plan? So for us, we really dove deep into open houses. And when you aren't doing any open houses and you go into doing 8 a week, it's chaos. And we were chaos. And our seller was like, I thought we were on Friday. Why are you here on Saturday? I mean, it was terrible. But we started to develop a system around it and even accountability. So we said, how much of our business do we want to come from open houses? And we chose 33%. And we said, okay, how many open houses did we do last year and how many closings did we get from them? And what we found out was 1 in 25 people who come to the open house end up closing. On average, 5 people came to open houses. We started doing open houses. Okay, on average, 5 people come to open houses, so you need 5 open houses to get to a closing. So if you want a closing from an open house every week, you need 5. We decided we wanted 2. We knew we needed 10 open houses a week, right? So we backed into how much do we want? Then,
25, yeah.
then what are we going to say? And so I would say you need to pick 2 sources of legion and stop everything else. And don't go to family reunion and hear about somebody else who called expires and be like, I'm going to call expires for a week. It's annoying. Stop. And you're wasting your time and you're wasting your money. And honestly, you're wasting the time of people who are doing it at a high level because they get all these other phone calls. Pick a lane and stay in your lane until you master it. Also, until you hire somebody that you can leverage it to. What an incredible value proposition when you can say, hi, if you'd like to join my team and you'd like a closing a week, you'll need to do 5 open houses a week. Would you like a closing a week? It will be 50 closings a year. You'll make a couple $100,000. Would that be okay with you? You can make $200,000 and do 5 open houses a week.
Sure.
Okay, cool. Because I can show you how 5 people come in, you use these scripts, this follow-up plan, you keep 1, you give the rest to Valencia. We put them on a drip campaign, 36 touch. You'll end up with 50 closings. Would that be okay with you?
Sure.
Okay, so recruiting just became a lot easier. I'm not just promising a hope and a dream. I have a system and I have numbers and I've tracked it where people can say, I can plug in and do that and be good. I also say, and when I hire you, I will only be taking listings, so you'll get all the buyers, which means, here's the thing about only taking listings. When you're so busy in buyers, you don't even focus on the fact that you don't have a listing and that you then don't have future buyers. Listings are the lead of everything, but you can be so busy being busy that when you get out of buyers and get into listings, you become crystal clear on where the company is headed. And you should think of your business as a company, even if it's just you. If you don't have listings, you're headed into a dead end, right? And so when you leverage buyers, you get very clear on where things are going. I saw in October that we made a bad hire, and I saw in October that listings weren't panning out. We are 6 behind in listings for the year starting in October, because anything you sign in October is going to close in 2020. So we're 6 listings behind already. I saw that ahead of the game, jumped back in the business in December. I already made up for 1 of them. I hit our December goal and took over 1 in the slowest month of the year. Because I knew that when those listings slowed up, my buyers were going to be shut. My buyers agents were going to be at my door knocking it down. I don't have listings to hold. I don't have this. I don't have that. I knew what was coming. And so I'm crystal clear because I'm not busy with buyers. I'm crystal clear on we're coming to a problem. And I knew in October, and now the agents are all having meltdowns right now. Somebody here raise their hand.
So they do open houses. Your buyer agents keep 1. Kind of explain that. The others go to the team and the team
ISA.
works them? Is
The
that
ISA, and if they convert them, they
What's
send
an
it back.
ISA?
Inside sales agent.
Inside sales.
So what made you decide to not let those buyer agents keep the open? Because right now, the way most of us do it is the buyer agents keep their leads, although they are,
Yeah, so if you have to do that, I would highly recommend that you hire somebody in the Philippines for $7 an hour to go into whatever their system is for tracking and make sure they're following up on those people in a systematic way. They should classify A buyers, B buyers, C buyers, and then prospects. And A buyers should be touched at least once a week, B buyers every other week, C buyers once a month.
and that is exactly what we're working on right now. And I just hired someone in the Philippines, so that's
Cool.
perfect.
Yeah,
Well,
they can
just
log
saying
into your
that.
system and tag you if the person's not
So
following up.
that's what I'm trying to figure out is, okay, I've already got my contracts in place with them where, okay, they get the leads from the open house because they did the work, but we follow up with them also on my campaign, but they're supposed to be following up as well, and
Yeah, they
we're
just
working on
don't.
our tracking system.
Yeah, I hired an ISA because I was
Right?
tired of all the
Don't
sticky
need it.
notes from realtors all over their car. I'm like, that's not gonna work.
Yeah.
I'm a control freak.
What'd you
So I got tired of sticky notes all over cars from realtors. So I just said, I'm hiring an ISA and it all goes in
the
there.
database, yeah.
Yes, and that's why we have a travel troll. So even that one that they keep, even the one that they said, this is gold, they still don't follow up on. we have a Trello troll that goes and makes sure they follow up.
Well, and if they get so many, if they get overwhelmed, I mean, the whole reason you hire them is that you're overwhelmed, and if they get so many, if they're lead generating and they're getting so many, they're not
There's a
overwhelmed.
possibility where,
Like, they can't even reach all of them if you're not getting leverage.
yeah, if I don't
Right?
leverage the
Yeah.
other ones, correct.
Right.
We made
That
a
makes
conscious decision to do so much lead gen. We said we're not paying for internet leads. But if we can generate, so an internet lead is $100 per name and phone number that says you can call, right? So what I said is if we get 5 per open house on average, that's $500 of Zillow spend. If we do 8 a week, that's $4,000 a week that I don't have to spend, and they're just gonna walk in our door. So I don't have to change splits and work buyers and pretend not to because I need to pay the bills. I don't have to do all that, and they agreed. And so that's where our plan came from. This is gonna save $16,000 a month and not having to put in internet leads. We just chose not to.
And then you're
We
not
chose
stressed
open
about
houses to
that.
be,
At what
we chose
point-
open houses to be it and the ISA. What?
At what point do you let the buyer's agent go because they're not following up and you want somebody who's gonna?
Yeah, that's a culture issue, yeah, so it's not long. I mean, we're having weekly accountability, we're having conversations, so,
Because it might not be a good fit for them in that position if they're not doing it.
yeah. It's
So
not.
Jordan, if you're starting back over, it'd be lead generation,
Lead
open
generation
houses.
and focus on 2 things. So it's your database, open houses should be the 2 things, and until you get to here. And then when you can hire somebody, like a buyer's agent, to do all the accountability, you can go add a 3rd type of lead gen because somebody else is responsible for this. So our director of operations is in charge of our database. She will print our database. Everybody tagged Jordan Client Events. I get a printout. And she says, here, call your database, invite them to the cake ball. Great. And I call through them, and I turn them back into lead. She's the boss. And so she's in charge of that form of lead gen, but we all participate. Buyer's agents are in charge of open houses. If I don't have a listing appointment on a Saturday, I go to an open house. Sometimes I'll relieve that. Just give them a day off. And so whatever it is, so they're in charge of it. So my director of operations is now over the database. So until you're crushing it at 2 and you can hand off a system to somebody, you don't get to go start doing a 3rd type of lead generation. You just don't need to. You're gonna end up doing it here, and that's just a waste of time and money because all the business is down here.
So you're saying work out all the keys, get a really good system, like get everything to where it's clockwork, and then you're like, okay, now somebody else do it because I'm just showing you exactly what I want. And as part of your meetings on Tuesday, people going, okay, this isn't working, or this email needs to be tweaked a little bit because we keep getting these same questions, or like, are you kind of having those conversations too to kind of?
Yeah, they get feedback. A lot of that comes instantly. I mean, they'll shoot us an email or something like that. But yes, a lot of that feedback happens on Tuesday, or hey, we're finding this isn't working, or has anybody else seen a slowdown in open houses? We're finding on average like 2 visitors. What's going on? How can we change this? How can we tweak this? But unless somebody's tracking it, I don't have time to know that.
Well, that's probably just a listening that question. I'm more along the lines of like, where do you choose to do your follow-up systems? I'm doing that. I feel like I'm master of all these different things, or master of none, whatever that saying is.
Yeah.
But I have such a challenge of the follow-up because I have switched systems and now I'm kind of in the flux of, anyway, so like automating, how do you know what to choose on for open houses, for example, because, it is one of ours.
So like the 36 touch, you mean?
I don't even know what to do, but just, other than the calls.
Yeah. So yeah, we just, through Realty, they have a 36 touch campaign. We put them on there. I mean, I don't really care what it is. They get the calls, they get the text messages, they get the email. I don't care what the email says. 90% aren't opening it. So it doesn't even say it's just like, I like to open it. Like, I don't care. But it does tell me that they opened it, and that tells me engagement or the ISA, and they can then go engage with them. It doesn't really matter what the content is. Truly, it doesn't. It's all real estate related.
Just a follow-up call.
Put them on a 36 touch, put them on the next one, decide when you're going to dump them. When a new agent comes in, unleash them on old leads to call on. I mean, that's great. Like, that's so exciting for them to have people to call and do and all the things.
So what's your database lead gen? Is that the DTV2?
No. So our database is our client events and our every other month giveaway that we call them for.
Okay.
And we're texting and calling our database. And so on Tuesday, we have team lead gen from 9 to 11, and we all lead generate together. And so because Leah's over database, she puts on our calendar the type of lead gen we're doing that day. We're calling them for this event and inviting them. And then Valencia, we have a 36 touch for our database, value pieces, 12 monthly market updates, which is a video of what's going on in the market, 12 home cleaning tips, whatever, blah. And then,
Will you share that info to get some ideas or no?
what info? The 36 touch?
Yeah, what you're doing.
Brevity.
Struggle. Oh,
Whatever command. Again, it doesn't matter as long as if they open it, then it tells you they're engaged. Like, it doesn't really matter what it says. How to clean a kitchen with a lemon. I don't know.
So really your goal with the 36 touch is for that, somebody to respond, and that's when y'all go, that's when you follow up with them.
No, people just forget you after 2 weeks. So if they get an email from you, even if they delete it.
Just saying, I'm an agent, don't forget.
Yeah,
So my son has no reason to know what Children's Place is, other than I get an email from Children's Place every day because I went there once to buy clothes. And the other day I said, baby, what am I gonna do when you're big? Like, I can't snuggle you and love on you. Like, what's mommy gonna do? He's like, go to the Children's Place and get a new kid. But how does he know the Children's Place? Like, something has just hit his mind. We've only been there once. How did he even know to say the Children's Place? I just want you to see my name. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care what the email is. You're going to forget me. So I've got a consistent call plan, and you see my name on your email, which you probably delete and never open. I'm okay with it. But you see my name. I can tell you everybody that I get an email from every day. Same people. And a 949 number from Zillow calls me every day. So, yeah. Well, you know who it is. Like, you're not forgetting them. I'm not forgetting Zillow. So that's the important. I just want to be top of mind, but I don't really care what it says. Cool. Okay, is there anything that I didn't cover that's pressing? We have 5 or 10 more minutes together. Books I'm reading, anything like that that you guys want to cover?
What other book do we know about?
So currently I'm reading, Adam Hergenrother wrote Founder and the Force Multiplier. If you are thinking about an assistant, I think this is a good one from what I've read so far in it. But it's basically, your hire should not add to your business, it should multiply. The year I added Charles, we went from 45 to 90. That's a multiple, that's a times 2, right? And so he didn't just make up his salary, he multiplied the business. So it's really about you developing out the idea and then developing out the system. It's kind of like Rocket Fuel. That's a great, Rocket Fuel is also a great book for that. I am a tortured soul, so Untethered Soul is a phenomenal book, and Surrender Experiment is the second one, the sequel to that, and it takes forever to get through it. And yeah, Untethered Soul. Yeah.
What's that about?
Yeah. It's about if you hang on to fear, anxiety, anger in your past, making an active choice to be happy and let it go. And how to actually let that process through your mind and heart so that it's no longer a trigger for you.
So in the beginning of your business, were you a different person in terms of you're talking about how gracious you are now, how you look at the situation, you're like, I'm not going to think about how this may affect me. I'm going to look at the other person, I'm going to be generous, I'm going to be kind. Were you always that way all the way through?
Or a lot of that is
who
who I am.
So that's just kind of a natural
If
thing.
anything, I would say business has made me more hard shell because I have gotten screwed over and I'm a D, which is our worst fear, right? And so business has actually made me more hard, but that comes in Untethered Soul, having to let go of some of the people that took advantage, that you gave them all the grace in the world and they took advantage, knowing that you did the right thing, choosing to sleep at night, choosing to be happy no matter what, and have that peace in your heart and soul. That's where a lot of that came from, was I think it hardens and it gets worse over time. And I think you have to keep making an active choice to keep your heart open and love and offer it, because there's so many people who are grateful for it, and if you harden, then you miss those. And then the infinite game, which is talking about a lot of what Gary Keller's talking about, which is, you do a business and you do a great business and it's wonderful, and even if it's an individual, but there's disruptors always coming in, and you always have to reinvent yourself. And business, at least for those who succeed, is an infinite game, and people who get up and want to play that infinite game.
What's the third one?
Infinite game?
No, the other one.
Surrender Experiment, but first is Untethered Soul.
Okay.
And this is the sequel. So these are my current reads. We read a book as a team together, and so the first thing that we do when we open up a meeting is we go over vision and pillars, then we go over buckets. We call it buckets, so filling buckets, because when you start the day with gratitude, it just can't go south from there, right? And then we go over a book that we are reading together. We're reading Infinite Game right now, and so we're doing a chapter a week. and we go over it to make sure that we're getting better and growing together. I tell the team, I don't have to be that much ahead of you, I just like one day, you know? Because they're like, you fill our buckets, you lead us, you this, and I'm like, I'm just a day in front of you, making it up as I go, right? So I'm constantly looking for resources to give back to them, to keep giving them more. And they all need something different. They're like baby ducks that all get different foods. And so we read a book together, and some are lovey-dovey, and some people hate it. By the end, they're like, can we just finish it? Can we read 3 chapters for next week? I'm done with this book, you know? And some are very business, and some love that, and others hate that. And so we mix it up, and then we go over boards, and that's when we talk about accountability and all of our lead measures. How many open houses do we have to do? How many connects do we have to hit our goal? And we check off that we're making them. Because I need to make adjustments if we're not hitting them.
What is your idea about hiring a first assistant who has the qualification to be one, but she's not in the business at all?
I think that's fine. If somebody has the personality and the background and they haven't been in real estate, I think that's great. They're not jaded by preconceived notions of what it's going to be like, and you get to train them in what you want. If you need to shortcut it and you're just in a hurry, you need somebody up and running, you probably want to hire somebody with experience that's in real estate, but you're going to pay for it. So, you know, they have unproven talent, which means I don't even know if you can do this role and you haven't been in the industry. Then they have possible talent, and that means that you've either been in the industry and I think you'd be good for this role, or you've been in this role not in the industry. So there's a learning curve. You pay a little bit less for that. You pay the least amount for the unproven talent. You have no idea what you're getting. Like with Charles, I have no idea. You're $10 an hour. Cool? Good. Then you've got the possible talent, and then you've got proven talent. You're going to pay the most for proven talent because they're going to walk into your business and they're going to throw out some systems that you didn't even know existed. And you pay more for that. So it really depends on where your business is at, how much time you have, what you need.
After you KPA them, after you know everything.
And if somebody turned to you and said, I've been in the business for 30 years and I want out and I'm going to throw my business all on your plate, you probably want to hire somebody who's done it before because you need help. It just depends on where you are and what you're looking for. And then knowing how you pay based on that. So based on where they're at. And showing them the opportunity map of, today you're admin, you could actually hire the transaction coordinator and leverage what you don't like. Then I could see you as director of operations and have an operations team. Someday you could take over the team and I could step out of the business.
You're totally using your psychology part of your degree.
Well, and that's part of the business planning class with Millionaire Real Estate Agent. They have it in KW Connect where you can go through the opportunity map of the different levels, and it talks about painting that out for that first hire and showing them the opportunity. Yeah.
What are your expectations for this year in real estate, and are you changing your systems at all, or adding to your systems at all based on what they're talking about the market this year?
So what are my expectations for this year in real estate? I expect our team to increase by 20%. I expect it to be harder out in the market every year. I think that a lot of agents will be getting out of the market in the next 2 years, but I think before that they'll be all cutting their commission to not get out, to try to stay afloat. It's kind of like when somebody's drowning, they'll instinctively reach for you to get help and they'll pull you under. Yep. And so I think there's going to be a lot of that, and I think that we're going to see that in buyers and sellers. So I do think we're going to see a temporary reduction in overall commission because we're all fighting for the same business. And then I think it's going to level out, and I think people are going to either choose the iBuyer quick offer model or the real estate agent. There's also some talk that someday real estate will go to just like an online community and buyers bid, whatever, and it's like fair market anyway. So there's a lot of like up in the air. I don't think the realtor goes away. I think people still desire that, especially in higher end. It's kind of like you can get a divorce now and do quick and easy and simple for very cheap. You know, unless you have assets or children, then that's harder and you have to actually go see a person. So I think we will be more consultants who have to know what we're talking about and what we're doing in order to make it in this industry and be needed. But if it just comes in, I mean, builders, you already see it. People can go buy a home with a realtor. Do I recommend they do? Yes. Can we add value? Absolutely. I think we add less value than a pre-existing home where there could be other issues and we've got to go through the inspection report and all that. But you've already seen situations where people can be represented, or not represented in by a home. I think we'll see more of that for those easy first transactions, and people that need cash will go that route, and we will get higher price points, and we will need to be more consultants that are specialized and dig into what they need. So I think the more we can specialize and the more we can learn, we can stay afloat. But listing appointments, like UVP is really going to stand out. You just can't say, I'll put your home on MLS. That's my value, right? Your UVP is really going to stand out. Your numbers and statistics are going to stand out. And then we'll see a lot of realtors get out of the industry, and then we'll see an industry recover. But some people will just choose to go iBuyer. It'll be interesting. Anything else? Last minute? We're out of time. I want to respect your time. Thank you for having me.
Thank you guys so much for coming out. Everything Jordan just said, for a lot of you that have been in the business 20-some years, that's what we've seen when the market fluctuates. It's just something different. And there's been TurboTax forever, and CPAs have probably seen a reduction in the business, but most of us that have businesses and need someone to sit and look at everything is still going to be there. So build something strong, build something worth leaving, and always start with the end in mind. And when you start with the end in mind and what you really want to do, you can work your way back. So thank you guys again for being here. Thank you for being in business with us. Thank you for choosing Keller Williams and this office. And we're here to help grow you, and we're here to help you, and we're here to understand what you want to accomplish for 2020. Thank you guys.